Hello, my friends. There's a major movement in the country right now. It is a movement to have better and more accurate and fair congressional maps. And I'm going to be talking about Missouri in particular, but before that, I believe it is important to revisit Texas. And we saw in Texas what the state legislators did. They approved a new congressional map. And in the process, there was a lot of drama. And if you remember that the Democrat state legislators had left the state of Texas, they left the state, they went out of state to prevent a quorum from being formed. And there was a lot of drama on TV, people were constantly watching the news and getting all the updates about everything that happened during that time. And both sides had their arguments. The Democrat commentators were supporting the Democrat legislators who had fled Texas. And then the Republicans were saying that the Democrat legislators were not doing their jobs. As elected officials, they should be present in the state, and they should be present on the floor of the state legislature to vote on legislation. And there were lots of arguments, lots of back and forth, and in the end, the process did work out. Finally, the process did work out in spite of all the differences. The process moved forward, and a new congressional map was approved by the Texas state legislature, and then it was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. And as we know, this map is likely going to lead to few more congressional seats for the GOP in Texas. Now, I actually published a podcast episode on this topic. It was last month. In fact, it was, the date was August 5th of 2025. So anyone who would like to listen to what I had to say back then regarding Texas, you can go and listen to my podcast episode. It was published on August 5th of 2025 when the redistricting battle was going on in Texas. And so I'm not going to repeat all the information here, but what I will tell you is I am glad that things worked out in Texas, okay? And as I previously said, the new congressional map in Texas is a better representation of the true nature of Texas. That new congressional map is more accurate given the true nature of this big red state. It is a massive red state, Texas. Okay, so Texas did great. And of course, left-wing groups, they're not happy, and they may drag this matter to the court. And I'm not going to comment on that. If something is in the court system, anything judicial, let's just wait to see what the outcome of the process is. But I believe that the new Texas map will stay. Okay. And I think that new map will be protected, it'll be preserved, and I think that the GOP will have a few more congressional seats in Texas after the November 2026 election, the midterm election. So that's all I have to say for Texas right now. But now let's move on to Missouri. Let's talk about Missouri. Okay, you may be wondering, all right, Tosif, what is going on in Missouri? Please provide some information to us. That's what I'm here to do, my friends. I'm gonna give you some information about what's happening in Missouri, and as always, you can share your thoughts with me. there's something great happening in Missouri. The state legislators are trying to get a new congressional map there as well in Missouri. In fact, the State House in Missouri already approved a congressional map that could flip a seat in favor of the Republicans. And now that legislation is going to the state Senate. So the State House already approved a new map, and now it's up to the state Senate in Missouri. Okay. And according to reports, the Senate, the state Senate in Missouri, is expected to approve the new congressional map as well. And then, of course, it'll be up to the governor to make his decision. And keep in mind, there's a Republican governor in Missouri. And so people expect the Republican governor to sign the congressional map. And so if that happens, if the process concludes smoothly, it would give the Republicans an additional congressional seat in Missouri. Okay, so let me clarify this further. If you want some numbers, I'm going to share with you some basic numbers. It'll help you understand what's going on. Right now, there are 8 United States House members from Missouri, 8 total. And out of those 8 House members, 6 are Republicans and 2 are Democrats. Now, if this new map is approved by the state Senate, it's signed by the governor, and it becomes final, then there would be a change in the makeup of how the seats are, how the the political makeup. Okay, so as I said, right now 6 GOP seats, 2 Democrat seats, and that makeup is going to change, likely, quite likely, and it'll become 7 GOP seats and 1 Democrat seat. So from 6 GOP seats and 2 Democrat seats to 7 GOP seats and 1 Democrat seat. So it'll be a gain of a seat, quite likely, by the Republicans. And we know that right now the United States House of Representatives has a GOP majority, but it's a very, very slim majority. And so if the Republicans can pick up some seats in the House in the 2026 election, then that would be great for the GOP for the next congressional session. And so 5 additional seats, hopefully, thanks to Texas, and then 1 additional seat in Missouri, quite likely, hopefully. And what I said for Texas also applies to Missouri. Both are very red states. And President Donald J. Trump reacted to the news of Missouri state legislators approving the new map. Okay, so our great President Donald J. Trump, he's paying attention to everything that's going on, and he shared some of his thoughts on, through a social media post, and President Trump was very happy about it. Okay, and I'm going to read to you some words from his Truth Social post. Okay, he said, and this is President Trump writing, he said, and I quote, "Congratulations to Missouri's incredible Republican state legislators who just overwhelmingly voted to pass their new, much fairer and improved congressional map. It was my great honor to win Missouri 6 times, including primaries in 2016, 2020, and 2024, getting the highest number of votes for any office in the history of the state, and this new map will give the wonderful people of Missouri the opportunity to elect an additional MAGA Republican in the 2026 midterm elections. The Missouri Senate must pass this new map now, as is, to deliver a gigantic victory for Republicans in the Show Me state and across the country. I will be watching closely. Thank you, Missouri. Make America great again. End quote. So this is the message from President Donald J. Trump. There was a thank you in this message. He is thanking the Republican state legislators in Missouri, and he begins by saying congratulations to Missouri's incredible Republican state legislators. So there's a thank you message there, okay? And there's also a call to action. That is, now the Missouri State Senate must approve the map. So the House has done it. Now it's up to the Senate. So there's a call to action. So not only is this keep up the great work, thank you message from President Trump, there's also a call to action that the Missouri Senate must pass this map now, as is, to deliver a gigantic victory for the Republicans. So the process has to be completed. The state Senate has to approve it, and then it has to be signed by the governor. So there's a call to action. And then you understand that the people on the left, they are going to oppose whatever President Trump says or does, the people on the left. And the same is true in this case. There's, we've seen what the Democrats did during the process in Texas. They walked out, they fled the state, and in Missouri also, there's heightened political tension. And, just regarding this entire process, topic, regarding this topic of redistricting, there's heightened political tension. The Democrats are saying that they'll do redistricting in blue states, okay? I mean, you got to look at California as a big example. Gavin Newsom, the governor there, he wants to do redistricting in California to give more advantage to the Democrats. So the California Democrats also want to make changes to the congressional map in a way that would benefit the Democrats, okay? So this redistricting, this entire topic of redistricting, it's a very hot topic right now, and it seems that both sides want to do redistricting. This is a theme right now in the political arena. And, this is a time for any student of political science to learn a lot from these interactions that are taking place. And I studied political science in school. There was a lot going on in the country when I was in school. And, there are always opportunities for students to learn from real life events, okay? In school, yes, as a student, you're gonna read textbooks, but it's important to observe what is happening in the real world and to learn from real life events. And if you are someone who's in school and you're studying American politics, you're trying to understand congressional maps, you're trying to understand elections and midterm elections and redistricting efforts, now is the time to not only read the textbooks, but to also pay attention to what's going on in real life, okay? And, I go back to my school days, and I graduated in 2011 with my Bachelor of Arts degree in political science, and then, I went to graduate school and pursued a Master of Public Affairs degree, which I received in 2013. And, if you remember what was going on in the world back then, what was going on in the United States back then, you go back to, 2009 and 2010 and 2011, 2012, 2013, you remember all the things we read and what we saw, what we experienced. If you are from my generation, or the older generation, you remember everything that was going on in the world and in the United States. Okay, go back to 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, those years. And there was a lot of division back then. Obviously, a lot of division back then. There was also bipartisanship. There always will be bipartisanship. There always will be agreements among the two major political parties, but the division was intense back then, and the division is perhaps even more intense right now. Okay. Yes, there are areas of agreement. Yes, there are issues, topics where we see bipartisanship, both sides working together. But then the divisions are so intense. The divisions, as I said, if you go back then, there were divisions, intense divisions. And there are divisions now as well. There's a lot of political tension right now. And students of political science are paying attention to the real life events, and they are learning. Okay. So for anyone who has, in particular, an interest in understanding congressional maps and redistricting, it's time to closely analyze the things that are happening in Texas and in Missouri, and what might happen in California. We don't know. That's a big question mark. And also Indiana. That's another state that should be mentioned. There's news coming out of Indiana with regard to redistricting. Okay. Indiana is not that far away. Here I am in Madison, Wisconsin, in the great American Midwest. Indiana is not that far away. And, I don't know for sure, but it is a possibility that there might be redistricting in Indiana. Okay. And if that happens, I'm going to try my best to share with you information about that. The question right now is there going to be a special session in the Indiana State Legislature regarding redistricting? It could happen. We don't know. I will be keeping track of all the latest developments, but what I want to highlight is students of political science, pay attention. Okay. Pay attention to the real life events. Political science is something. It's a subject where simply reading textbooks is not going to be enough. Okay, you're going to have to do real life case studies. And so I always encourage people to watch the news, okay, to read the news. I like to read. I'm a reader. I like to read. Yeah, I do watch news on TV. I listen to news updates, on my phone, but I like to read. Okay, so whether you're reading an actual newspaper, like a hard copy newspaper, or whether you're just on a news site on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, I like to read. Okay, and I would encourage the current political science students to pay attention to this redistricting issue. There's a lot to learn from this, and so Yeah, well, I also always encourage people to share their thoughts with me. I am very vocal about my opinions, which is why I've got this podcast, Explore and Engage with Anam. And I think we all must be. It's our First Amendment right, freedom of speech. We should share what's in our heart. Okay. Now, our views may evolve as time goes by. Human beings, we're human beings. We're not, our understanding of real life, our understanding of policies and politics can change over time. Okay, we learn more. That's why I use the word student. Student doesn't mean just those who are going to school. Yes, those who are going to school, they are students. Those who are pursuing degrees in political science and public policy and public administration, they are students. But we are all lifelong students if you are trying to learn things every day. I'm always trying to learn. Okay, so there are those who are lifelong students, and it doesn't mean they are enrolled in college and university courses. No, you're not in school, you're not in college, you're not going to the university, you're not taking classes, but you're learning from real life. Lifelong learner. Okay, so I'm always learning, and I'm sharing with you all my views. And the more we learn, the better understanding we have about life and society and government and the interactions that take place between countries all over the world. So that's why I say that my podcast is about social and political issues, both domestic and international. That's all for now, my friends. Thank you for continuing to listen to my podcast. I appreciate that very much. And once again, I'll tell you, please share your thoughts with me. Okay, you can go to my website, which is tosifanam.net, and you can send me a message through my website. And you know what? If you have thoughts about my website, if you want to share with me some advice, some tips on maybe redesigning my website or changing the look, or making it more easy to navigate, hey, share your thoughts with me on anything. Okay, I was hoping to do, and I'm still hoping maybe in the near future to do maybe a little bit of a redesign on my website. So if you're on my website, you want to share some tips on how I can improve it, feel free to share that. Okay, so go to my website, tosifanam.net, share with me your thoughts. And you can also email me directly if that's what you want to do. My email address is tosif@tosifanam.net. And you know what? You can also find me on social media, where I'm very active. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and also on Truth Social. So connect with me, share with me your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the redistricting, the topic of redistricting, what your thoughts are. I'm eager to hear from you. Thank you once again, my friends. And I'm going to be back again very soon with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam.